I'm Brenda Miller from AmongBrendasQuilts.com, and today I'm going to show you how to sew in 2 different types of zippers in a zippered pouch. To make our zippered pouch, we need to cut out 4 pieces of lining that measure 6 by 9 and 1 piece of lightweight interfacing also measuring 6 by 9. I'm using Pellon Shape Flex 101, and I'm going to fuse it onto the back of one of my pieces, and the bumpy side is the fusible side. The type of pocket we're going to create first is one that I'll just show you in my Norfolk bag design, and it is this style pocket inside here. It's an inset pocket that's lined, and that's why we're needing 4 pieces of lining. We have 1 piece here, we have 1 piece on the back of the pocket, we have 1 piece here, and we also have a piece of lining on this side. So if you're wondering why 4 pieces of lining, that's why. So let's get started on that pocket. I have to decide how far from the top edge of the pouch I want to place my zipper. And I'm thinking about 1.5 inches will be good. So I lay my ruler on my interfaced part of the pocket. And I'm going to draw a line straight across. And since my zipper is inset for this pocket, I want to set it back a little bit from each side. And I think 1 inch on either side will work. So I'm going to draw a line 1 inch away from each short side. Okay, and now I want to draw 2 more lines below my first line for my zipper placement. Zippers come in different sizes, not just lengths, but widths. So here's a typical skirt zipper, and they're fairly narrow. And here's one of my own Among Brenda's Quilts designer bag zippers. I have my own line, and they have a wider zipper tape. I'll get it out of the bag and I'll show you that. So there's my zipper, and there is a skirt zipper, and you can see it's about 1/4 inch wider than this skirt zipper. What we're going to do next is draw some lines that we're going to use to place the zipper. And if you're working with a wider zipper like mine, you can place your lines 1/4 inch apart. If you're working with a skinny little skirt zipper, they're going to have to be closer together. And you'll see why in a minute. But anyway, what I'm going to do is drop a line 1/4 inch from the first line I made. There. And I'm going to drop another line 1/4 inch below that line. Okay, so now we have kind of a little rectangle here with a center line. We're just going to mark into the diagonal like that. And then we're going to take another one of our pieces of lining and lay these 2 pieces together, right sides together. And I am going to just pop a few pins in there to hold it even. Now it's always really important when you put 2 pieces together to make sure that the edges are even all the way around. And if they're not, you're going to have trouble later on. So make sure the edges are even. Now what I'm going to do is go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to use my smallest stitch length, well, not the absolute smallest, but a number 2 stitch length. And I'm going to stitch around these outside lines of my triangle. And I want to have a nice, crisp 90-degree angle every time I turn to sew in a different direction. Now that we've sewn all the way around our rectangle, we want to cut on the center line and into the corners. And I will just use a rotary cutter to cut most of that center line, but of course I want to be very careful that I don't cut too far. And then you need really sharp scissors. So don't use the old dull scissors for this, because what you've got to do is snip right into those corners. This is really important. You have to be right into the corner, but of course you don't want to cut the thread either. And then it's not a bad idea just to trim out that little rectangle on each end. There. The next step is that you need to turn the lighter lining through the pocket. And then you need to pin the edges together evenly. Okay, then we take the other part of it through. And pin into the corners first. My interfacing is just a little bit bigger than my fabric, so I'm just going to trim that excess bit off so I can see exactly where my corner is. Okay, now I'm going to pin across here, along the sides, and here's where you're going to have your most difficulty. You might get little wrinkles like that. You might get even bigger wrinkles. If that's the case and it's looking worse than that, you need to go back in and properly snip into the corners. This is actually going to press out what I'm seeing here. So you see there's a bit of a pucker in the corner, but it's not very bad. I want to just make sure that the seam line is right centered in the middle there before I press. I work on the corners. I'll just kind of stretch them out a bit. And press. And press. All right. So that's looking nice and flat. And what I'm going to do next is use a large basting stitch and baste around these raw edges a scant 1/4 inch. And a scant 1/4 inch means not quite a 1/4 of an inch seam. I've basted all the way around with my long stitch, and now I'm going to just give it another press. Okay. All right. Now we take our zipper. I'm going to use my wide zipper. And I just want to demonstrate why it's important to draw your lines the right distance apart. So you can see when I place this zipper in this opening, I'm going to catch my zipper tape underneath. But if I were to place this zipper underneath with those 1/4 inch lines drawn, I am practically not going to be able to sew around here and catch that zipper band. So that's why it's important to realize that you've got 2 different widths of zippers that you might be using, and you want to draw your spacing lines the correct distance apart. Generally, when you add a zipper to something, your zipper is going to be longer than the space required. And what I want to do now is take advantage of that by just dropping the zipper underneath my lining piece, and we've certainly got a tail end and a pull end sticking out on either side. That's perfectly okay. And I'm going to center it and pin it here. along one side and partway along another. And then I will move the zipper pull into the space once I'm happy with the way it's pinned in. Okay, so let's move that over, get it where it belongs, and then I'll just finish pinning that. Okay, and now I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, put the zipper foot on, and stitch around the entire opening. Alright, so there is our zipper, and we've sewn all the way around it. Now we've got these, tails to deal with, so let's just flip that over. And using an old pair of scissors, because we're cutting across nylon zipper teeth. This will not work with metal zipper teeth, by the way. You want a nylon zipper. Just trim off the excess. You want to keep it away from the seam allowance. So I'll trim about 1/4 inch away from each end. There we go. Okay, so there is our front of our inset pocket. Now we have to add a piece of fabric to the back of it so that it finishes off. So I'm going to now pin this together and then baste all the way around again to join all these layers evenly together. Now it's time to put it all together. You're going to have to cut 2 outer pieces that measure 6 by 9 as well. And I'm actually going to put some fusible fleece on the outside of this just to give it a little body. So I have fused my lightweight fusible fleece onto the back of the outer front and back pieces. Okay, so we are taking a piece of lining and we're placing the lining right side up, and we're placing the zipper right side up on the lining. We want to place the zipper so that there's lots of space here between the edge of the zipper and the zipper stop. It's metal, so we can't sew over that. I'm going to just pin that together. And the edges are even here. And then I'm going to take a piece of my outer fabric and I'm going to lay it on top so that these right sides are together. And everything has to line up along the raw edges. Just repin. Okay. Now I'm going to put my zipper foot back on, and I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam across here. After stitching across, here's what I have. Next, we'll take it and we'll actually repeat what we just did. We started with our lining, right side up, and we place our zipper on top with the raw edges even. We hold it together with a few pins, and then we place our outer fabric on top, lining up the edges and repinning it. After stitching, here's what you have, and what you want to do is open it up, and there's our inner bag with our set-in zipper and our outer bag. And we want to just pin these corners together and give it a good press. So I'm all ready to top stitch, and I'm going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the zipper tape. Alright, we've top stitched, and now it's time to put our zipper pull into the actual piece and trim off the edges of the zipper tape, even with the pouch. Once it's trimmed, don't move it again or you're going to lose your zipper pull. And then you'll have to watch my video called My Zipper Pull Came Off to fix it. Okay, so there it is, and we leave it fairly open. Alright, I'm going to remove the pins in the corner here now. And we will put right sides together, the front and back together, and the lining together, right sides together. Now I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have a pouch that wasn't squared, but kind of with a bit of a curve on the edge? So I am going to just mark a curve here on the edge of all four corners so that we have a curved bottom pouch. Just use whatever you've got handy that has a curved edge, not too big a curve. Alright, I've stitched all the way around, and now I want to just trim out the areas where the curves are. I don't think I even need to clip the curves, just trim them. That'll be fine. Okay, now what I like to do before I turn it is press the opening back. It's just easier to do it now than later. Try not to touch my board here, by the way. You probably shouldn't iron on your mat, but sometimes I do. Okay, so that's pressed back, and that's just going to make it so much easier for me to stitch it closed later on. Okay, we've got our zipper open inside here so that we can actually get everything turned. If it were closed, you know, it wouldn't work out too well. And once it's turned to the right side, give it a good press. Don't really have to worry about turning out those corners because there aren't any corners, they're curved. There's my inner zipper. Oop, let's get that open. There we go. So I can use that just to tuck things away. My upper zipper. And to finish your piece, just pull your lining out one more time. You're going to pin together those seams you folded back. And you can either stitch that by hand or just run a machine stitch across it. Either way is okay. I'm going to do it by hand because might as well do a good job. And I'll just use a slip stitch to finish that off. So there we go. The lining is all finished inside. We have our zipper inside. It's very neatly done. Our zipper at the top, so you've learned how to make two styles of zippers. And think about this bag in different ways. You could make it deeper, you could make it wider, you could make it with a larger curve at the bottom, you could angle it off like this, you could add little tabs and a handle to it. So this little project can take you a lot of places, and I hope it does. Thank you for joining me, and please visit my website www.amongbrendasquilts.com, where we sell the zippers, and I have a whole line of quilt and bag patterns just waiting for you. Thanks for joining me. Bye now.